Alright, as the topic of this video is obviously about, it's self-explanatory, it's about how my philosophy, my beliefs, so on and so forth, about how self-defense, combat training, however you want to put it, should be just as equally important, if not even more important, than education. Because over the years, as we know, education has been put as like the most important thing in the entire world. Well, it shouldn't be. And I'm going to explain why. Combat, self-defense, training, however you want to put it, should be just as important, if not more important. Alright, so, say you have someone who dedicates their life to education, just like the government and the world likes to tell them to. Okay, sure, whatever. You want to succeed, you gotta do what you gotta do. Cool, I get that. However, this person puts their entire life, everything they got, purely into education. Alright, cool, that's great. You're dedicated to something, you get it done, and you did it well. You're a 4.0 graduate right out of high school, first 18 years of your life, out of the way. Alright, cool. You put all that time, that effort, that sacrifice into doing all that. Well, okay. Some dude comes up. He's some sort of thug, or I don't know, some guy that knows how to fight, or someone who's insane, has a weapon, whatever. Comes up to the fella, right? Bam. All that time, that effort, that sacrifice, first 18 years of his life, gone. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't defend himself because he didn't know how to. Okay, example number 2. Say he survives past high school, gets into college. Yay, college, woo! Again, dedicates his life, time, effort, sacrifices everything to purely focus on college. He has nothing else to do other than purely focusing on that, so he can get the best of life has to offer and all that good shit. Alright, I can respect that. That's awesome. I'm glad. I'm proud of the fella. Alright. So he graduates from college. Again, honors, top of his class, whatever. Alright. He gets a good job, you know, of his specialization, say doctor. So, he's a doctor now. He's, you know, living the life. Then all of a sudden, one day, he walks out of work. And these fellas, they're like, oh, he's got money, he's a doctor. So, they're like, alright, I want your money. And so, they proceed to beat him up and take his money and possibly even kill him. Maybe they do the stereotypical movie thing and take him for ransom. For his money, of course. Or whatever, something of the sort that involves money, as he is a high-value target. Well, again, a situation that could have been avoided had self-defense combat been prioritized as just as equally important, because had those fellas or fella, whoever, one or multiple, faced a doctor who knew how to defend himself, trained properly, so on and so forth, with stand-up, meaning kickboxing, the whole 10 yards, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for ground, or American Kempo for both, that would not be an issue. He would be able to defend himself, he would be able to at least get away from the situation, so on and so forth. Because as I am well known for saying, there's a difference between thinking you know how to fight, aka your own ego, be it boosted by muscular appeal, or because you're attractive and a lot of ladies like you, so your ego's all like, oh yeah, I'm Billy Badass now, man. Or the most popular ego boost that makes people think there's some hard-ass, tough-ass fighter dude listening to rap. Oh yeah, I'm so fucking thug, man. Oh yeah, I'm so tough. Oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking... No. Anyways, all that aside, there's a difference between thinking you know how to fight and knowing how to fight. Meaning, you're trained. You are disciplined in fighting, training, be it martial arts or any other form of self-defense. And that is what always gets me the most. Like, for example, the Cherry Festival fight videos that I had put up about a year ago. These morons, like, they thought they were tough and they thought they knew how to fight, but yet this fella who's all like, I'm just like, yeah, you projected that punch like 5 seconds before you even threw it, fella. I would have had your ass down in the grass, just like that. You try to pull that bullshit with me, see what happens. I'll give you a free lesson in self-defense. So again, like I said, there's a huge difference between thinking you know how to fight and knowing how to fight. So with all that aside, the point remains the same. Education should not be more important than everything else. It should be on the equal level of self-defense. Because of the examples that I had given. Alright, because you dedicate your life to education, you sacrifice so much time and just everything to get this education so you can have this successful life. But in moments you could have that taken away where it could have been avoided if you just had self-defense training, any sort of combat training that could have prevented that from happening. Just, I mean, for the sake of everything, not even a gun, but just a simple knife defense. So if someone pulls a knife on you, you can immobilize that person, take the weapon away, use it for yourself against them, or once they lose the weapon, they typically run away anyway. But if they stupidly go to fight anyways, you could use your training furthermore to defend yourself furthermore with a knife. I mean, it's just this chain fucking reaction. So if someone pulls a knife on you, you can live for the next day to continue your successful life. So it blows my mind to think, to know that education is more important than the ability to learn to defend yourself. It just blows my mind. It's like, what's the point of putting all that time, that dedication, that sacrifice, if you don't know how to defend yourself? I mean, you're putting all this effort into this one thing so you can have a better life, but yet, when it comes down to it, if you face someone who's got bad intentions for you with a knife or just their fist or whatever, you're defenseless because all you know is just education. Now, if there's an implementation of, say, education and combat training, 50-50 it, or something of the sort, that would be the best thing for people. You would be able to defend yourself and have an education, so you could live a successful life, but should you come into an encounter where your life may be at stake, well, shit, you can defend yourself now. So all that time, all that effort, all that sacrifice was worth it. Not in the regard of just having a good life, but being that you can continue to live the next day and not worry about being killed, about being beat up, about being mugged, about anything. Because not only will you be living a good life, but you'll also have the confidence and the know-how and so on that you can defend yourself in a situation where you need to defend yourself, such as, a knife being drawn on you, people that want to mug you, so on and so forth. Hell, furthermore, to further this, you can defend your family. Say you're out with your family, right? Your kids and your wife. Some asshole wants to try, whatever with them. Again, this self-defense combat training will come into handy, because not everyone will be rich enough to have bodyguards or whatever the fuck. So you're going to have to take action. Well, again, not only for yourself, but now you can defend your family. so they don't have to worry about anything happening when in your presence. I mean, this is a chain reaction. This is a never-ending cycle of advantageousness. Just because you put self-defense combat training on the same level of importance and prioritization as education. Because again, I mean, seriously, who in their right mind thinks it's a good idea to have all this education but nothing to help you live the next day? You're literally wasting your life with education just for it to potentially be wasted. And it's just so stupid to me. Why hasn't this been a thing yet? Why hasn't this been a topic talked about yet? Is what blows my mind. Why am I the only one that ever says this? Throughout all 26 years of my life, I've never heard anyone say this other than me. But every time I brought it up, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a good point." And I'm like, "Well, duh. You're gonna put all this time and effort into education, then someone draws a knife on you and you're fucked. What's the point?" I mean, come on. And again, not only that, not only will you be able to defend yourself and your family and live a successful life furthermore and to the next day, should anything happen, but it promotes healthy lifestyle. It could get your own children into self-defense so it can be passed on furthermore. So not only are you having a good, healthy lifestyle, but you're having self-discipline, you're having the confidence and knowing, and furthermore, you won't feel the need to prove yourself, and so you won't get yourself into any stupid ego situations like the retards at the Cherry Festival where they're just like, "Oh yeah, you're talking shit, so I'm gonna have to prove my alpha male dominance by throwing fists at you in the middle of the midway." No, someone that knows that they can defend themselves, someone that knows that they can fight, will never find themselves in a situation like that. And if they do, it's because of the poor quality training they received. Anyone who's a martial artist with good amount of experience that finds themselves in an ego fight, it falls back on their instructor. That's why quality instructors are so important and why you should look for a quality instructor. Because a good instructor will instill the idea and discipline you in never getting into an ego fight. And if you still don't know what an ego fight is, I will give you a short example here. An ego fight goes down like this. Male 1, male 2. So 1 and 2. Person number 1 says, "You're a fag." Number 2 says, "No, you're a fag." And then number 2's like, "Oh yeah, well I'm gonna beat your ass." And then number 2 is all like, "Yo yeah, sure, whatever." And then they fight. It's not the best example, but you get the idea. They throw some insults at each other, and then they're just like, "Well, now I'm gonna punch at each other." Well, this is how it goes. And if one of them is combatively trained with a quality instructor, number 1 calls number 2, which number 2 shall be the person who is quality trained. "You're an asshole." "Okay," says number 2. Number 1 says, "You're a scared little bitch." Number 2, "If you say so." Number 1, "Oh yeah, well, you're just too scared to fight me because you're weak and dumb." Number 2 says, "I guess, if you say so." Basically diffusing the situation. They don't care. Their ego isn't affected because they know that they can defend themselves. And should person number 1 get mad enough because they're not angering person number 2 and actually go for them, then number 2 is going to kick their ass. Furthermore, just adding insult to injury. I mean, that's how it always goes. So I mean that's the general difference between someone who's disciplined and trained and has a good quality instructor versus two people who have none of that. So that's why I always do find it sad when I see people who are trained in combat, be it martial arts or otherwise, that find themselves in ego fights. It's either on them because of their poor self-esteem and ego and fragile ego, shall we say, and or a mix of just having a poor quality instructor that, you know, enforces the idea of you gotta show them, you know, or whatever, instead of saying, hey, try to diffuse the fight. The best fights won are those avoided. That's the best philosophy you can get into, because any fight that you don't get into is the best fights that are ever won. I can't disagree with that, because no one gets hurt, no one gets injured, no one feels embarrassed, there's no grudges, whatever. They throw words at each other and bam, it's over. No, nothing is had other than maybe a little bit of annoyance because of the words that were said. So it's the best philosophy that I've ever known. So anyways, back to topic. As I was saying, you know, I just cannot believe that this is not an actual topic or has ever really been brought up before. At least around this area. Maybe it's obviously maybe other people have had this before, but personally, I just never encountered anyone other than those who agree with me after I say it. You know, so it just is amazing. Why just put all this time and effort into education if you're just gonna your life's gonna be taken away just because you don't know how to defend yourself against a simple knife or mugging or whatever? I don't know. Anyways, it gives you something to think about maybe if you haven't already thought about it, but to me it should just be, as I said, a 50-50, if not education being a little bit less important and martial arts or self-defense training being a bit more important, however you want to put it. But either way, at any point in time that self-defense, combat training, martial arts training, whatever, is on at least an equal level, if not in a better world, more important than education, that's all that's really would be needed for a majority of these situations. Because I can't even begin to start to tell you all the times that I've seen on like Date Time and whatever, all these other like criminals shows where, you know, there's all these high-profile people and doctors, nurses, whatever, and their lives are simply taken away, even though they've spent like 8 years in college, 18 years in, you know, school like everyone else. All that time, all that effort, all that dedication for nothing, just taken away when they simply could have just defended themselves. It's a shame. It really is a shame. Anyways, like I said, it gives you something to think about if you haven't already thought about this before. So, hopefully you agree with it. If not, I don't know what's wrong with you. Hopefully it isn't just my bias, because I'm a martial artist myself. But honestly, I just don't think it is. I see it as just being rational, logical, intellectual, with just some common sense. Just think about it. Education with no self-defense versus education with self-defense. Which do you think would be better? So, anyways, hope it gives you something to think about. Maybe it will encourage you to get into some sort of combat training of your own right. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed, and see you again on another topic.